humanity.
At times, depending on the video. Okay, can I jump to the Cuba topic? Patra y vida.
Yeah, sure.
Let's go.
Okay, let's give the listeners some context so they haven't been following along with Cuba. So, what's today? Today's July 25th. So 2 weeks ago, some protests broke out in Cuba, and varying reports as to the cause of this. Is it COVID lockdowns? Is it government mismanagement? Is it 62 years of the communist regime that's rolling there? Pick your
Is it the
cause.
U.S. embargo?
Is it the U.S. embargo?
Yeah.
El bloqueo.
That's a big one.
Todo eso. Lots of stuff happening, right? So as a Cuba follower for a lot of my life, on and off, since I've been there, 2009, it was like, oh, snap, like Cuba's going off. And so not only is it like a news thing that's relevant to me, but then I just start reading on Twitter and then hear a slogan being touted, I think in Cuba itself, but it's hard to get footage now with less internet access for the people to broadcast things. But in Miami, like, this Patria y Vida is the slogan. Like, is that just a random slogan that got thought up of that day? No, it happens to be a song by a band. Like, I'm a huge reggaeton fan, but Gente de Zona, who I just really like. I show Gente de Zona in my Spanish class. They just have good music. I didn't know they were political at all, to be completely frank. I was kind of surprised. But so they have the song Patria y Vida with so this Yo, I can't say his name, but he was actually one of the guys on that La Resistencia and Movie Star late night show in Spain, and a couple other Cuban rappers. So they have this Patria y Vida song, which, if you read some articles on NPR, they really break that down. So if you haven't been to Cuba, they're all about their revolutionary slogans there. Lots of Jose Marti, Che Guevara, Fidel Castro's slogans. So one of their slogans is Patria o Muerto. It's or Muerte, sorry. Patria o Muerte. It's like a huge revolutionary slogan there. So a play on words there, Patria y Vida, homeland in life. So kind of a bit of a jab there. So anyway, it's a song, like, but it came out back in February, which I had not heard that song at all.
Same.
Right. It was like, oh, interesting.
It's a good song.
It's a good song. Like, even if I wish I would have heard it before it got, like, a political song got politicized, I guess. That's like, the song has lots of baggage now. But anyways, okay.
Is it controversial though?
Well, we can get into like the politics and the history and the references behind the song, but this all started from YouTube comments that got me going on this, because I was like, man, scanning YouTube comments, yes, Cody's right. I don't really read them in English ever, but in a foreign language, I find them very fascinating, because they're just like very informal language and just like spurts of thought, just like emotion, and lots of emojis thrown in sometimes too. And I just find, I don't know, even if I'm not, say, picking up new vocabulary, I'm just seeing how people feel about something in another language. So I don't know if you guys have experience with YouTube comment boxes or message boards, or
I have experience
comments
with,
from
like, online comments or like colloquial language and text.
Okay, like text message.
Kind of interesting. No, just in general. I don't know. I don't know. Like Reddit, maybe.
Okay,
I don't really go on Reddit a lot.
Yeah. But like
I mean,
Reddit
like,
in a foreign language.
Yeah, I've done Reddit. I try to do Reddit in like some of the like the European subreddits, because like for Chinese and Korean, like they've got their own kind of online communities.
platform.
But I mean, for German, Spanish, and French, yeah, like all those countries use Reddit, and yeah, it's kind of interesting. Just like reading the comment section in there. I don't really like reading the Reddit comments. I don't know. Like I have a love-hate relationship.
Reddit's its own beast.
Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with the Reddit comment section because like
Yeah.
the top comments are usually really good. Like the top comments are there's a lot of gold
That's
in
the
there sometimes.
upvoted
Yeah.
stuff, right?
But
Okay.
then you get in like when people start commenting on those, and then it starts like these new threads, I guess. And these
Yes.
new threads can go down like so long until the next top comment. So I find myself just scrolling down through the next top comment because it's always just stupid things that they're talking about. So
Yeah.
But
and
I'm curious.
this exists on the foreign language subreddits too. So I'm like,
I'm curious about the specific comments on the Patria Vida, like
Oh,
Cuban stuff.
overwhelmingly. Okay, two interesting things. Okay, one, overwhelmingly in favor of the song, tied to what's currently happening in Cuba. So, I mean, tying this into like world affairs, it's interesting as knowing Spanish, as a Spanish speaker, consuming this song. Because if you didn't speak Spanish, I guess you could listen to it. You could kind of get the emotion of the song. You could listen to it. You could read a translation of it. But being a Spanish speaker, like it resonates. And then I guess political leanings or thoughts on Cuba might resonate in certain ways. But it was interesting because you had in those comments on Patria y Vida, you had like, desde Argentina, like todos somos con Cuba, de Peru. Like you had all like different Latin America chiming in on this comment box. It's right there for you. It's right like
Except Venezuela.
yeah.
no, you know
Yeah,
what? Those are all those
I'm-
comments. All those comments, those are fake accounts created by the
I was
CIA.
wondering, are the bots this unique
CIA.
and individual?
CIA.
Oh, okay, and then okay, we can totally get into. I'd love to get into the CIA today too,
We have
because
to.
it adds to more language stuff. It adds
So
to the language
so-
adventure.
just returning to Cuba.
Yes,
I don't want to get too into like the political
we
stuff.
We don't have.
But
to.
I do want to say, because of what I did do, because I've been trying to educate myself too. I watched a
Yeah.
couple YouTube videos in Spanish about the history of Cuba. Fascinating.
Oh,
history.
fascinating country.
But what I also did, I watched a bunch of like podcast interview with Cubans about explaining and describing their lives in Cuba. And it's
Yeah.
different because you hear all these stories in English news media about Cuba, and it's like, okay, but it's not palpable. It's not palpable unless you hear it from a person, a real Cuban in Spanish.
Not as palpable. Yeah.
It's not as palpable, but when you hear, I listened, like the link I sent you guys, like this hour and a half long interview with this Cuban speaking,
Right.
first of all, Cuban Spanish, and I had a tweet about this. If you can understand this
Yeah.
guy, your
Tell me what you
Spanish is
tweet.
advanced, because he
Yeah,
literally pronounces half the word. Like Cuban Spanish is like you
this-
pronounce half the word and that's it. You get rid of all consonants first of all,
Yeah.
and then just pronounce the vowels.
So it's like French.
Messed up. Wait. So absolutely fascinating to hear about, the Cuban lifestyle directly from a Cuban, and that's it's more concrete, it's more tangible, like it's more interesting as well. It's more captivating. It's more captivating to learn that way.
Yeah, and arguably challenging at times if they're using slang or fast, like you said, it's a foreign language, so you gotta like lean in, and I find it, but more enriching of an opinion that I'm getting. Like this is a guy on the street in Havana telling me what's happening right now in his own voice.
Uh-huh.
But what's going on? This is like straight from the horse's mouth in Havana, and I find it hits harder.
And it's something about too, like understanding him, because you can watch. Let's say after the first thing that comes to mind is like after the tsunami in Japan, and they were interviewing people on the streets, and they were absolutely devastated, and then they were translating everything that they were saying.
Correct.
But it hits harder if you understand them directly.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's just in the news, right? It's just gonna be a dub over or
you don't want. Yeah, the dub over sucks, man.
Yeah, like you're understanding it, but then that English news station might only be showing you so much, or they're just creating so much, right? Like subtitles and dubbing take time. They're obviously not going to like show you everything. Whereas like I've been watching a ton last week. It's called Cubanos por el Mundo, where this guy does these live streams. He's kind of a wacky dude that runs it, but he's interesting, and he's just getting like Cubans that call in all the time. Like if you're running that on an English channel, like I guess there's lots of English speaking Cubans that could easily call in, but I just feel like wouldn't have the same energy or the same. You couldn't
No,
get as
it's
much
not.
across.
Like hearing some like monotone dubbed voice, like dubbed over voice is like it's not impactful at all. It's
No,
like
yeah,
okay.
yeah, it's
Like it's almost like dehumanizing, almost.
Well, yeah,
it's not like in the
dude, this
pejorative sense.
This ties
but-
back. This ties back to like what we were talking about on an earlier pod about like when you're in a foreign country and you need a translator, it's almost
Mhm.
dehumanizing talking to the people, right? It's almost like this. It's almost like this wall is separating you, right?
Yeah. Or you know what pisses me off? Those ads where they're like, I say something into the app, and then it responds to the person, and they get all like, oh, and then they read back into the app, the translator.
It's
like,
just it takes
what?
away a lot
Eh.
from the human experience.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like cut out that middleman. Like, let's go, like learn the language, learn each other's languages.
Yeah, there you go.
Cross those bridges. Yeah, but okay, to tie this a little closer to Patria y Vida with the specific kind of world affair, like lots still happening in Cuba. Like this song's very interesting when you get into like the lyrics. And now I know Marcus, you had a tweet about music earlier, and
I looked into the lyrics of Patria Vida.
yeah, man, like that is for the history people out there. Like, there's some very
años.
Oh yeah, which complete reference to, you know, how long they've been living under this current regime. Like 59, so 1959.
Yeah.
When the Cuban Revolution happened. Okay, I think he says doble dos, I believe is the reference. Like I don't like referring to 2022.
Is that 2022?
So it's like it's doble dos. I believe he's like referring to like the present now. Like, hey, you had your 1959, I have my revolution now, right? And then there's other references to different Cuban figures, but it's interesting how like this song came out in February. You know, if you would have heard that back in February, like okay, like
that's pretty cool.
You know, a guy singing about freedom in Cuba, and you know,
that's an awe-inspiring song. Like after listening to that, I was like, oh man, I want to go have my own revolution. Like
right,
I'm
yeah,
totally
that's
down to go tear things up.
Totally, and I feel like with languages, so if any listener, if you go back on the Lee episode 8, so Lee wanted that specific song. It's a Russian band, actually. It's not Ukrainian, but that song that plays at the start of our episode with Lee, that was like a kind of an anthem during the Euromaidan protests in 2014, and has its own like allusions and references to, you know, the state of things in Eastern Europe and Russia. Like it's interesting how political songs that become relevant can really pack a punch. And then, like we said, with consuming news media, like this, I feel like this Patria Vida song is like almost like this big underbelly to the Cuba story. Because that's when you go watch the news right now. If you just see Patria Vida, but you don't know that's a reference to something, you're missing out.
Yeah, you're missing out. You're
on
not
the cultural package, the baggage.
That's such a that was totally the catalyst for all this, right? Had to be like that song. They're probably bumping that thing down in Havana.
Do you want to talk about catalyst?
I'll talk about as many catalysts